Hello and welcome to Red Read. Today I have a kind of different video planned for you. Most of the time on my channel I make videos just talking about particular books, sharing my thoughts and comments, and while I think I try to explore positives and negatives in the book, there is an inherent bias in the fact that I'm just making a video on the book in the first place, which means that I probably had a positive enough experience with it that I wanted to share my thoughts and sort of bring it out to the public, out to the world. And so, yeah, that just means that most of the time I'm kind of positive on my channel. In this video, I'm kind of activating my judgmental capabilities because what I wanted to do was just go through and judge my books by their covers, but not by how they look, as is the normal meaning of the phrase, but actually how they feel. Because, of course, you know, like the origin of the original phrase, not judging a book by its cover. When you're reading a book and you're getting the words off the page and you're doing what matters, you're not looking at the cover. And so, of course, and even when it's on just your bookshelf, you're probably just looking at the spine. But when it comes to how a book actually feels to hold, you're obviously holding it the entire time. And even though I would like for that to not be the case, I will say that sometimes how a book feels contributes positively or negatively to the reading experience. So I've just gone through and gotten together what looks like maybe 36 books from different publishers, and I'm just going to talk about how they feel. I'm going to give them, you know, a soft kind of tier ranking, but the books are not organized in terms of quality. Really, they're just organized in terms of popularity. So we're starting with the big publishers, the Penguins and the Vintage, and then we're going to go to some of the like less common but still popular publishers, and then at the end I've got a couple of just one-off books to talk about because, you know, maybe there's some variation between them, but just these one books from these publishers that I wanted to talk about. We'll start with the start. You know, abiding by both meanings of the phrase to not judge it by its cover. These Penguin Orange classics are like just fine. They are just standard B-tier books. They don't get in the way of reading. Of course, you know, these ones are a little bit smaller, but this has kind of become its own normalized font size, and it's not the kind of weird one-off sizing that makes it hard to find other books that match it. So it's almost likely that it's almost certain that you're going to have other books that fit with these Penguin books for organizing your bookshelf. And yeah, pages feel fine. They are not too thin, not too thick, and the font is also pretty readable, except that with these smaller ones the font might be a little bit small. If we go on to our Penguin Modern Classics, these are pretty much the same thing except blown up to your standard book size, and I like them. I think that sometimes the pages are a little bit thin for when I'm writing notes, but most of the time this is just perfectly serviceable. These are all sort of B-tier books. I will say, for whatever reason, sometimes Penguin just come out, maybe because this is Penguin non-fiction, but Penguin just come out and make books that like actually feel good. This is Zadie Smith's Changing My Mind, some essays, and I don't know if it's because it's not laminated, but it just feels nice. It feels nicer than normal. The pages are a little bit thick. It feels almost powdery if I were to describe how the side of the pages feel. But yeah, on your Penguin, this is an A-star book. Unfortunately, Penguin sometimes also go the opposite direction. These 20th century classics just don't feel good, and it really sucks because of, you know, I know that the books are good, and I have read Carpenter's Gothic, and I'm very, very keen to read Omensetter's Luck, but maybe it's something to do with the laminate, maybe it's just something to do with the pages feeling... well, this one's fine. I remember feeling that Carpenter's Gothic felt a little bit thinner than I would like it to be. Unfortunately, these are B-tier books. I just wish they were better. They don't... I have a bone to pick with the laminate, which you're going to see later on. Vintage, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is also a soft B tier, in that it maybe kind of gets into A tier because vintage books are close but not quite the platonic idea of what I want a book to be. It's never going to get in your way. It's the perfect size. You know, I know we're not talking about visual aesthetics, but I do like actually the uniform red spines. I think that you won't be wanting for anything in these books, but they are just kind of maybe more fine than the Penguin and the Penguin Modern Classics books. Although I don't know what these are, if it's like a particular series or something, but I have this Jane Austen's Persuasion and Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, and these are nicer than normal. These are kind of A-tier books. They have the fake dust cover spines, which at first I was like, ugh, but it's kind of grown on me actually, and I really can't wait to go through and actually read these books proper. But just based on initial touch impressions, I'm going to give this an A tier. I like it, and this is kind of just better Penguin because it is the smaller sizes, although yeah, nothing I really want out of these. Are these thicker than normal? Are these thicker than a normal book? Let me just test. Nah, I think it's just an illusion, but these, yeah, I'm gonna give these an A tier actually. These vintage books that have these fake dust covers, and then sometimes I'm gonna go and give this a strong A. This is, I don't know if it's because this is vintage international, but this is just the first part of Musil's The Man Without Qualities, and this feels really, really good. It's got a nice cover. Again, I don't believe it's laminated. The pages a little bit on the thin side, but it's got a nice floppiness, and I'll talk about why I like floppy books when I get to some of the really big books. But these vintage internationals, this is a solid A tier. Here I have two twin brothers in my opinion. I've got the Wordsworth and the Oxford World Classics. These are so close. This is almost what I want a book to be in a platonic ideal, and this is exactly what I want a book to be in a platonic ideal. Font is a bit small in them both, I guess. Oh, actually these Wordsworths are fine, but I don't know if it's because also I like the way that it's laid out, but just the way that they feel. This is a book that okay, these are both A tiers, although I'm going to give this slightly better than an A tier. Do I give Oxford Classics a soft S tier? I'm going to go for a soft S tier for now. And but yeah, this is just the sort of books that I feel like if I'm wanting to read, you know, I know how dumb that sounds, but it's like if I want to read a book and really read it, then these books have got my back, and I much prefer these over Penguin or vintage books. We've got these Picador books. I've got Ted Chiang, Roberto Bolaño, and Don DeLillo. I think really, if I just close my eyes, these are vintage books, and so that's fine. The font is usually really good in them, but just A tier, low A tier books for all of these Picador classics. Okay, we're getting into the Collins books. So Collins classics, let's be honest, we all know these are cheap. We all know they are. Look, Collins knows these are cheap because look at this, look at that font, and oh god, just looking at it. I'm sorry, I'm not meant to be judging aesthetically, but just in terms of the way it is, it's got this stiffness to it that is not bad, but it's just like, it's kind of got the equivalent of vinyl crackle, which maybe that's appealing to some people, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's like looking at the words through a lens through like a foggy lens. Although I will say, you know, we'll come back to this edition of Leaves of Grass. We have these, I don't know if it's different or if it's just a change of name, but now it's like Williams Collins, and this version of A Tale of Two Cities feels a little bit nicer, but I'm still just going to have to go ahead and give these all like C tier. I think they are just okay. And we have also these Alma Classics books. I've got this Eugene Onegin. I also saw a Ulysses that I was going to buy because it was like $4 or something, but and I was really just going to buy it because it had like annotations at the end. But this is trying really hard to convince me that it is not a Collins classic, but it is just a Collins classic book. It is not that good, and so C tier. these Dover Thrift editions suck. I'm so sorry. They suck so much that they inspired this video. I hate reading these. I don't know why. Like something about the fact that it's laminated, something about this just, it is just gross. And I'm trying to not be judgmental because it's not really in my character, but oh mama, these books are just not pleasant at all to read. And I originally had a Dover Thrift edition of Leaves of Grass, and I upgraded to a Collins. So just to give you some context as to how much I hate these Dover Thrift books, these are... I just realized I didn't really establish what the sort of lowest quality would be, but just assume that Dover Thrift is the lowest quality. Now we're getting on to some more, hopefully positive, books, and into some publishers that are still popular, but not as popular as these kind of literary giants. We've got Harper Perennial. So at first I thought the only Harper Perennial book I had was Rising Up and Rising Down, which I'm going to go ahead and give a tentative S tier, but I also realized that my How to Read Literature Like a Professor is Harper Perennial. This in particular is just an A tier. There's something... So what I love about floppy books is just that, especially when they're big, I like that I know I'm going to sort of be able to manipulate it and read it in such a way where it's never going to feel janky at any point. Sometimes with some books, even some that are going to come up, because of how stiff the spine is, you know it's going to crease in one particular place. And so then when you're reading, you're kind of just needing to balance pages because it's not folding properly. And if you try to fold it properly, you're just going to crease it in a second place. That's why I really, really love these floppy books. And I like that. And yeah, also the cover is not kind of insanely good, but it has a sort of powderiness to it that I really like, and it's not as intense on this How to Read Literature Like a Professor. I think this might be slightly laminated, but yeah, really keen to read this book, just, you know, content wise, but also just keen to hold this book. And I also have Gödel Escher Bach's Basic. This is published by Basic Books, and I think that they're kind of going for a Harper Perennial thing, although the pages do feel thicker than normal, which I think will be really good for a video like this. If I'm for a book like this where I might even want to take some notes while I'm reading. But yeah, I'm gonna also high A tier or low S tier for Gödel Escher Bach. I think I'm gonna say the highest of A tiers. Okay, now we're getting controversial because based on everything I've said, there's no reason why I shouldn't hate these Dalkey Archive books because they do have this laminate, and maybe I'm just being persuaded by the fact that I absolutely love at least these two books, and I have yet to read Bartlemy, but I do love... I have yet to read Paradise, but I do love Donald Bartlemy. I'm going to give these a high B tier, but... I know that I probably shouldn't, but I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the fact that they are kind of bigger format, and I think I'm really just being convinced by the fact that I love David Markson so much. But yeah, thank you Dalkey Archive for publishing these really great this really great literature, but I don't know if I can give it any higher than a B tier in terms of feel. NYRB, these are bougie, and we all know why they're bougie. It is absolutely worth it. Butcher's Crossing I'm reading right now, and The Letters of William Gaddis. The only thing I don't like about these NYRB books is that they are stiff. They have the stiff spines, and so I managed to kind of maneuver it so it didn't affect my copy of JR, but Recognitions, I have just a big old crease down the spine, one or two creases, but everything about this book, these NYRB books just scream S tier. They are so nice to hold, so nice to collect. They're very visually aesthetic as well. All in all, just like 100% S tier. And you know those memes where you sometimes look at those memes where the format is there's a picture and then your brain's like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, and then your mouth is like, and then your mouth says something and it's the punchline. That's me, but with when I look at NYRB and I just hear it as an onomatopoeia and I just think NYRB. I always hear it as NYRB in my head. These Faber and Faber books, these are so it's not consistent. One of these feels a lot better than the other. I've got just these classic T.S. Eliot complete poems and plays, which I think really just feels like your par for the course B tier book, but it does have a thick spine again, so I know this is just a crease waiting to happen. But these Faber and Faber poetry editions are really, really nice, and again, they've got the fake dust covers, which are growing on me. I know that it's already kind of creasing here, even though I've not really read this book in earnest, but this just feels nice. This is definitely S tier for me. And I kind of wish I managed to get my hands on the Faber and Faber poetry edition of Ezra Pound's Cantos, but it just didn't line up with the time. But Emily Dickinson poems, she also happens to be an amazing poet, and so I will give that book an S tier. Next up, I didn't even know about this publisher. This is Princeton, and I originally thought that I only had Mimesis in this edition, but then also I realized that the edition of Walden that I ordered is by Princeton as well. These feel really good. These are either low S tier or high A tier books. I'm gonna go for high A tier for now, but yeah, there's something that's just, these books just feel really, really nice. They do have laminate, but they don't, do they have laminate? Like, it feels light, like a light laminate, but it's not getting in the way. And something about these books, these really just kind of slightly picturesque. It feels like I'm reading, where those old Wordsworth and the Oxford classics, they feel like you're just reading a book. These feel like I'm just reading a book, but it's the 1940s. And so, yeah, they get extra points for just feeling really, really good. I am gonna give those a high A tier. In this last category, I'm just going through 5 one-off books. So this is Tuskar Rock Press. I've got a couple of these Laszlo Krasznahorkai books. These feel better than they should. In my heart, I know that these are just vintage books, but I don't know, there's some elusive mystical quality about them that's making me want to actually give these a low A tier. I don't know why, but there's something so nice about these books. I've got Deep Vellum's Solenoid, as always. Happy to have a floppy book, and I like these fake dust covers. This dust cover is not as big as the other ones, but I think I'm going to enjoy reading this. It might end up being too physically big. I don't know if that's going to be a negative influence later on, but yeah, Solenoid is... And also, Carterescu just seems like I am interested in his content, but I think that these books are very cool. These are like really, really cool books. I haven't really said that. I haven't really thought to say that about anything else, but these Deep Vellum books are just sick, Okay, Barnes & Noble. No one likes these. I'm sorry, let's be honest. These books are the epitome of look, don't touch. They are so visually aesthetic that they are just perfect to have lying around. They are coffee table books, and look at this glorious these golden pages, but this is just not fun. Like, there's something about the kind of disgusting, the disgusting texture of the cover. I can't get over it, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's if you've got hands that naturally sweat, they are just not fun to hold for any extended period of time. I would say that this is worth buying just for the Gustave Doré drawings, but yeah, Barnes & Noble, man, what an absolute buzzkill. I'm going to give those like a D tier. Oh, and I don't know if I said it, but I'll give Solenoid, or like the Deep Vellum, high A tier as well. Routledge. Don't know how people are feeling about these, but I'm gonna give this a tentative S tier, because this is just like such a meaty, stacked book. I know that this spine is just waiting to be creased, but there's something really just like kind of bougie about this book. It verges into NYRB territory, but I like that. For whatever reason, it's kind of picturesque in that if I was filming a short film where I had a character that needed to slam a book on a table, I would instantly go for this, just because it's so just thud right down. And also, yeah, I like the size, and I think that the pages are like a good thickness and so forth. Kind of writing notes and annotations as well. I'm gonna give Routledge S tier. Yeah, S tier. And now, last up, Everyman's Library. I hope that I'm not going to be controversial in this, in that I'm going to give this just a high A tier. I feel like these books have got your back, if you know what I mean. Like, they are travel companions. They're not cool. Maybe they're cool. Maybe they are cool. But I don't know what it is. There's something that holds me back from giving Everyman's Library an S tier, but I feel like they are really good quality and they're great collector's items. I only have this one and a little James Joyce, Everyman's Pocket, but am I doing it? I don't know, because to have an S tier, you've got to just have that extra special quality in terms of feeling, and I don't feel like Everyman has this, but in every other sense, this has got to be the highest of A tiers. I don't know if I mentioned it, these are Montaigne's essays, but yeah, I'm sorry if I disappoint people, but I am going to give Everyman's Library a high A tier. And those are all the books that I have that I wanted to talk about. Let me know. I don't know if this video is going to be controversial, but I mean, I don't think it is. It's just a kind of fun excuse to touch the covers of my books for 20-something minutes. But let me know if you have other editions or other books that you think stand out in terms of being texturally divine. And thanks for watching and indulging in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.